And we are live once again, and what a significant edition of the MCW Cast. This is our 1-year anniversary of being right here in the MCW studio, presenting this podcast to all of the MCW faithful. With that said, I'm Legacy MCW announcer Larry Legend.
I'm MCW promoter Dan McDevitt.
And I'm Tara.
Director John Rollins.
And that's the story, Morning Glory, the director, the man behind the scenes that really puts it all together in between us being here every Tuesday night, cuts it all up, flies in the graphics, the lower thirds, all of those good things that make the MCW Cast what it is. So we are so happy to have you in the hot seat for this edition, our 1-year anniversary of the MCW Cast, John.
Oh, we can't forget our other producer.
We have an extra seat
Remember,
this week. We have an extra seat,
So
remember?
we got the camera facing backwards so that we also could have an introduction from...
Hey, what's up? What's going on, everyone? I'm kind of doing 20 things at once, but we'll make it work. Thank you, guys.
I guess I was going to leave
Producer.
Producer intro for you. You're an MC like I am, so I was gonna kind of pave the way for you to do that. But yes, Steve Diaz, our producer of the MCW Cast from day one.
Correct.
Yeah.
So weeks ago, you had asked that trivia question about who were the only two people who had not missed an episode of the cast. And I had thought that you meant Steve and myself because we have not missed an episode.
So Steve was a bonus answer.
Right.
What I was thinking was you and Danny Mays,
I
another
know.
announcer of MCW who does the
Just
commercial.
because his voice...
His voice is heard every
Every
episode.
episode.
So that's who I was thinking about. But absolutely, you're absolutely right. Our producer, Steve, is very much part of the glue that binds this
very
cast
much.
together. Yeah. So
Oh, you're too kind. Go on.
So we're going to pull back the curtain on this episode and kind of let people see behind the curtain on our 1-year anniversary. So that being said, obviously, John Rollins, they may know from saying commentary and
Flashback Friday.
Flashback
intros,
Fridays
yep.
as Ricky Owens. And Steve Diaz, they may recognize as wrestling on the show as Lore Diaz.
Lore,
Correct
that's
time.
right. Shout out to Baltimore.
So, with multiple tasks, but this is essentially the team, basically, that's made this work. And, going forward, they're doing a lot of the production with the TV and everything that we're doing. At this point, this airing, we're working with, taking our product onto like Fight TV and IWTV, two of the big platforms for independent wrestling we're working on. And these are the guys that kind of got us there, that we had the confidence to do it with improving production and everything. And it all kind of stems back to the cast. Like when we started doing this a year ago, while we were in the pandemic and improving a lot of things. So these guys are an important part of the team. So I thought this would be cool to kind of do this on our year episode.
Absolutely. And also, Tara.
I just wanted to throw a couple.
go ahead.
You were speaking about platforms real quick, and I
Yes.
just wanted to thank all of our listeners who have been on this year-long journey with us and who have checked us out on, liked us, shared us, commented on Facebook and YouTube, but also listening on the podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Radio Public, Castbox, and of course, all of our people who have sent us cups of coffee over the last year.
Yes, indeed.
To our coffee club members. So thank you for that as well. So
Yes, thank
there
you.
we go.
That's right. And you know what I was going to say, and Tara, I know that you can testify to this, and Dan as well. The nucleus of any successful pro wrestling company is a strong, communicative office. And that was what you first kind of recruited me for, was office. That was even my nickname.
Yep.
And part of the office is the production. We are the ones, the announcers, the cameramen, the graphics department. We have the ear of the promoter. And I can attest to it, and I know everyone else that's in this room right now. Dan stays on communicating with us as a group in our own little office group chat. And to anyone out there that's thinking like, oh, what makes a company like MCW last for 23 years? It's having that good administrative side of the production that makes the shows seamless. Even though we're pulling our hair out a lot of the times on show days, we communicate with one another. We are on the same page. We have production meetings, and that's kind of been part of the course for MCW ever since I came around. So, the office is critical to your success.
But I think there's another level to that I'd like to kind of give my opinion on.
Please
I think
do.
it kind of relates to, I can compare it in the same way to like we're a week and a half out of like last call, and it was a big show. Was really important, but from a different level, from a wrestling standpoint and the talent standpoint, that event ended with Ken Dixon ending the reign of Brian Johnson.
Thank
and it
God.
was really emotional. The fans were really into it.
Oh, they were electric the whole night.
They were electric
Yeah.
the whole night, and like Ken, stepped in and kind of picked up the flag. In a lot of ways, there was symbolic that night of Ken kind of taking the reins of the Bruiser that the Bruiser left behind and carrying the torch of the company, so to speak. And you don't just get that spot because of your hard work, but Ken really truly loves MCW. And it's one of the reasons that I think he elevated himself, because he elevated himself to kind of that point. The same thing with like all of the people here in this table, like everybody gets to this, and it's not just with me communicating, but there's a general passion and love that you have to have for the company to be there, because like truthfully too, like the five of us, even like that are kind of the core of everything, we butt heads on stuff sometimes. Whether it be, personal, politics, whatever stuff, we butt heads on stuff, but there's never I think the difference and cool is like you see, I'm in real estate and see structures of other businesses and stuff, and a lot of times like management, like people are hard, like we can get nasty with one another, but you know what I mean? Like seriously, right or wrong, like we can all like kind of like get mad and scream at each other on a chat, and this was screwed up and that's screwed up. I mean, we joked a couple weeks ago about like that show that was lost with like Leo and Tara's, but like we can all like get mad, and then 10 minutes later it's like, all right, whatever, like
on to the next show.
It's like family.
Yeah, it's like a family. It's really a weird dynamic that is kind of. It's really because of everybody has the same love for the company and the advancement of the company that like you can have all this, it's just weird. I don't see that in you know what I mean? A lot of times people are like mad to, they don't want to back talk their boss or have a disagreement because they might get fired, where here it's like nothing's ever like everybody has their core responsibilities, and it doesn't matter what personal issues come in between. Because at the end of the day, like that core, when it's based around the company or MCW, is really solid. Yeah. Because everybody genuinely really cares and loves the company, even as much as like getting this set up is like when we started talking, everybody was just kind of just busting their ass. Yeah. You know what I mean? To even get this off the ground, because for this to go from idea to like concept to like and actually happening. It was a lot involved. There was a lot of steps. I mean, this was just like an old room that was like ceiling falling in.
It was so bad.
You know what I mean? It was so bad. So to visualize and then to kind of get it, and then a year later, here we're still here in 52 episodes. It doesn't get that. That stuff doesn't happen because no one's making a living. It's not like everybody's MCW's providing a living. It's a passion and a love for something that kind of. So
I had somebody say to me the other day, like 2 days ago, they're like, you need to get a hobby. You're always working. I'm like, well, I have wrestling. They're like, you work at wrestling. I'm like, oh.
It doesn't feel like
but it's not really.
Exactly.
Right. It doesn't feel like work. I mean, I'm here like multiple days a week, and it doesn't feel like work. I mean, sometimes it does when you go home and you're exhausted. But and I was like, oh, well, I don't know. I kind of see this as my, it gives me the same joy as a hobby would. So. For me,
definitely a passion project.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to explain until you like you can have all this work, but like the last call was just a great show that like everybody just at the end when it culminated with what it was for like Ken, the kind of passing of the torch that it was for Ken, because everybody was so supportive. When you do that and it's just. I don't know. It makes it all worth it. It makes it not feel like work. Just like, hey, man, this was awesome.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of last call, our guest that we had last week was at last call as well. We had Megan Bain on here. She's a relative newcomer to MCW. We've had her on the last few shows, and she's really making a name for herself.
She was on AEW Dark against another former guest of the cast and someone that performed, Layla Gray.
Yep.
That was neat. I didn't even realize that was happening. Megan's so like seemingly like humble. I was like, how come you didn't promote that? It was like you know, and she got a win. So
Over Layla.
Over Layla, yeah, it was like, so 2 women from the MCW Women's Division on AEW Dark. If you didn't, Dark Elevation.
Right.
So it had been the episode like a week ago, like right after New Year's.
That synergy right there.
Yeah.
Yes,
so.
indeed. Yep. I felt it percolating even when she was here with us that it wouldn't be too long before we were seeing Megan Bain somewhere else. And how about her facing Erica Lee, subbing for Veda Scott at MCW Last Call, and finished her off. Another guest of the cast, previous guest of the cast, Erica Lee, finished her off with a jumping tombstone pile driver.
Wow.
That's her finish.
Yeah.
Dark.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Well, let's talk about something else with the last show. How freaking crazy was that, like 2 or 3 days leading into the last call?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, not just the last 2 or 3 days before, but like 2 or 3 hours before.
2 or 3
2 or 3
hours
minutes before. I mean, like everything. It was constantly in flux. It was.
Yeah, with all the outbreak. And
I don't think we've
everything.
ever had a show that the lineup has changed in so many ways.
And it's not just days, but I think the day of the show was like a couple within
day
hours.
of.
Like, hey, I tested positive.
Yeah.
And,
We lost Bro Keller that day. We
Lost Veda Scott.
Veda Scott.
And Erica Lee, give her, like, because, you know, she's someone that literally dropped what she was doing.
Yeah.
When I called and said, hey, you know, because we had to go, you know, Maryland has, you know, Maryland has testing guidelines. They have COVID guidelines, you know, requiring vaccines and things like that. So it was like, okay. And you know, the Maryland Athletic Commission was so stressed out, they didn't want to have to deal with like a new licensee or stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I need a girl. I need someone that's licensed. I need someone that's vaccinated, you know, that they have a vaccine card. You know what I mean? And then I need them to be able to drop what they're doing right now and come to the building.
Like literally hours
like right
before
now.
the show.
Hours before the show when you live hours away.
In
know
another
what I mean?
state.
So in another state. So, yeah, props to her.
Yeah, she was there to answer the call.
You know, and everybody else that stepped up. It really was crazy. So I just, I'm still scarred from the shutdown initially, where it was like 3 days before, and the commission's like, the governor's going to shut the state down, and I'm like, for a cold?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then 17 months later, we're just about to run. So I was like, you know, because there was people that would ask, like, is this show going to happen? And I would just snap at them, like, don't even bring that up. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even want to, I seriously, like, I was like, the stress level was there, but I was trying to not reach a peak that I was like, don't even bring this up to me. You know what I mean? This show's happening, you know? And so, yeah, it was just, but man, it was just culminating right up until the bell rang. It was crazy.
It was definitely one of the more stressful events, I think, that I've been a part of in a long time.
Yeah.
But as with other occasions, everything fell into place, and the people had one hell of a last call right here at the MCW
Yeah,
Arena.
and to the fans, too, the people that miss it, there was lots of posts on the page from, like, regulars, names that I recognize, saying, hey, I tested positive. Or like, you know, like lots, and in the Facebook fan group, people that I just recognize from being longtime fans. So shout out to them for doing the right thing. And I know they would, you know, I hate that I missed it, but my wife tested positive yesterday, so I'm not going to be able to come.
I wasn't sure if I was going to be here.
I was surprised.
I saw you. I was like, wait.
I waited and waited, and when that negative test came back on Wednesday, I was like, thank you. So,
Were you testing every day, or you just waited a couple
No,
days?
I waited, but I tested everybody around me, and I isolated myself in my half of the house and just stayed away. I mean, it stunk because it was over Christmas, but, you know, I really wanted to make sure I was here for the show, because we didn't have anybody backstage really. And you know, for those of you who don't know, I do the backstage interviews and segments, and everything that gets bumped out on social media during the show is 9 times out of 10 coming from my phone. And you know, so it was a lot. It was really important that I be there, because I knew that we didn't have other people that would normally be there. It was, you know.
Yeah, not gonna lie. I actually messaged Rosaria and was like, "Hey, I don't know if Tara's gonna be there, but you may have to step up and really take charge of these promos."
Yeah, she and I were talking too. I was like, I'm really gonna be there. I swear, I feel good. I'm okay. I'm gonna be fine. But we had talked about like a backup plan. I'm like, I'll just FaceTime you. We'll just walk through everything. Like, it'll be okay. So yeah, it was.
And
it
that,
was
but
very
that, see,
stressful.
that goes along with how crazy it was, because that's one of the things that's kind of out that they talk about with people that are vaccinated not really having symptoms. Is like, that was one of the craziest things, because like some people, it's like, no, I'm good, and then the next morning, now I'm not good anymore.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
Right.
wait a minute, you were fine yesterday. You know
Yeah.
what I
I
mean?
know.
It's like, so it was. That's one of the things that just added layers to it. That it was. It was just a lot of people just, and some of the people that, yeah, man, I tested positive, but I was fine yesterday. And, I tested myself this morning, the day of the show. And
I'm positive.
I'm positive, So, yeah, it was just.
So that's
crazy.
one I will say, for as much as we are not fans of all of the rules and regulations that the Maryland State Athletic Commission likes to throw at us, I am grateful that they did require negative tests and they do require vaccinations and things like that, because we were able to put on a show and we were able to filter out people who were sick, who would have otherwise, I mean, we've all worked sick, right? But not sick. So, I feel like they deserve a little credit there, even though we don't generally like all of their rules, because some of them, quite honestly, makes you scratch your head sometimes and think, do we really have to go that far? But anyway, it did protect us, and it did create an environment that we were able to put on a show safely.
And I think you do got to give the credit to the talent, because we wouldn't have known. I mean, people could have just blown it off, and you know what I mean. So the fact that people were stepping up and saying, hey. Or, one or two of them that were like, no, but I'm I don't have an ability to take a test, but I'm coughing and I got fever. And you know what I mean? Just
okay, stay there.
Right. Just that in general, I think we got to give it. And we had backstage producers and all, too. So it was like we weren't just losing. So, like, all in all, like, leading up the day or two before, I'm like, okay, I got to have the main event. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
You hate, from the promoter, that's was like the worry about things. It's like, okay, I know how this show was going to arc, and I know what we were trying to get to and what the real meaning of the show was. Like, so, all right, you guys just don't go anywhere. Like, just stay in your houses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't touch anything. Get a bunch of hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
You guys just stay in your house
You
for
were like
days.
enforcing an MCW bubble remotely.
Remotely. Like,
You're in the
remotely.
bubble.
Yeah, you're in the bubble. Do you
Ryan
have anybody,
Johnson,
do you have
don't you
anybody
leave.
coming over for Christmas? You do? Okay, tell them not to.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I canceled
Or-
Christmas. I had to.
Yeah, or get one of those
You're not the
nuclear
only one.
waste.
I know.
Are you going to feel uncomfortable sitting in a nuclear waste suit in your family?
All right.
like, 'cause that's what I need you guys to do. Because I can't have an accident here.
Oh, trust me. After making all those videos for each participant, I was just like, "Oh, please don't let my hard work
Yeah.
go to waste.
Yeah.
Please."
Well, speaking of hard work, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about some of the things that go into all of the production side of the show, and so we'll see you in just a minute after this quick break.
Fuel the MCW Cast by visiting buymeacoffee.com/MCWcast. And for just $3, you can buy the cast a coffee. Or you can choose to become a member of the cast for just $5 a month and get several additional perks. That's buymeacoffee.com/MCWcast.
And we're back here at the MCW Cast. Dan McDevitt, Tara, Larry Legend, and my partner in crime, one of the best production people that I've ever seen or worked with. John, the floor is yours. Mr. Rollins, a pleasure to have you on the cast.
I really appreciate that. Putting me over like that.
After this is what we do, my friend. We put each other over. A rising tide lifts all ships. Even though I sound kind of tinny, we're gonna run with it and maybe hopefully fix it in post. But speaking of post, I know that you come across a lot of technical difficulties when it comes to putting together these podcasts, the videos. So, I mean, before we even get to that, when you first came here to MCW, did you ever imagine that you were going to be able to give such an impact?
No, because when I first started, I started in 2017
As training to wrestle.
as a student. Yeah,
right.
And I just wanted to be in the ring, mainly just talk. And then what was it in 2018? I just made a video for Nick Aldis and Brandon Scott. And then
The world title match.
Yeah. You had messaged me, and I had a little bit of anxiety because I was waiting for you to be like, don't post it. Like, don't post anything that we haven't approved of. And then you were like, oh, like the video's good. You should talk to Brian about joining the production team. I was like, okay, okay, cool.
But I first remember my first memory of you. I think it may have been before that or right around that time. That I need to like acknowledge here is there's no one, including me, that's owned MCW since 1998 that knows more about MCW.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Than you.
Oh gosh,
like, I remember saying to like RJ and Dean, like, who is this freaking guy?
Yeah.
That knows about stuff about MCW that I don't know and I don't remember from like like it could be a match from 2001,
title change
at a title change at a freaking Denton Volunteer Fire Hall.
Whenever,
And I'm like, who? Like I remember thinking like they were messing with me. Like seriously,
Like
about
that they
him,
were
like,
feeding him like
that they
all
were
the-
feeding him stuff to like bring up or having conversation around me. Just to rib me, and I was trying not to sell the rib.
right.
Like, I was like, because there's no way this freaking dude that's a student or whatever at this school knows about something that happened at like the Denton
Right.
Volunteer Fire Hall in
Right.
2001. Like, because I don't remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when we're doing episodes of the cast, and if you ever see me check my watch, and then all of a sudden I chime in with a year, it is not because I've suddenly remembered it, because I promise you my memory is not that good. But John's is, and so he'll feed it to me and say, "Oh, that was in 1998, on August 14th," and I have no memory of this. you
Yeah,
know?
and that's what I would say, and I'd say, dude, they'd be like, Dan, we're not ribbing you. Like that dude is the MCW encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia, indeed. Yeah.
It's always fun when I bring up a Flashback Friday match and you're like, that happened?
Yeah, I don't. It's weird. I don't know whether it's the CTE in me or just that I don't have the room for it. But
Well, that's why I've
crazy.
said that I've been dropped on my head a lot or a lot less than anybody.
But
at
yeah,
this table.
yeah.
This is
So-
true.
Yeah, myself included.
John, you just brought up something I wanted to talk about, which was Flashback Friday. So for those of you who don't know, John is in charge of Flashback Friday. He puts these together. He pulls these matches from who knows where, because we've clearly forgotten about half of them. But tell us a little bit about how that idea came about, and also let us know what Flashback Friday is this week.
So the Flashback Friday, this is before we had like a big YouTube presence, and we were like just trying to figure out what other content we
What
can
to
put up
do,
there. Yeah, and I think you had actually brought up like, let's put up old matches, and I gotta give credit to Diaz for coming up with the graphic for it, and I just picked random matches that I think people appreciate. And we just go up on YouTube.
And he knows I always get excited when it's like, oh, you found another old Leo Rush match?
Yeah.
That's good for at least 50,000 hits on
Right.
YouTube. You know what I mean?
Leo,
there's another
Mickey
one I didn't
James.
know.
Right.
Yeah, Leo, Mickey James. There's someone, but I mean, something about Leo and our freaking. I mean, the dude is just freaking like.
I think he's like in the top 6 of our top 10 videos.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, and
and Scarlet Bordeaux too.
Oh yeah.
Like,
and a lot of the intergender things. But
Yeah.
the format is great. When you had asked me to take on Rage TV, I had started a section in Rage TV that said From the Vault, and that was whole episodes, whole shows from the archives where you've gotten a lot of these from. But they were really time consuming because they were, some of them were on VHS. They were not good quality, so trying to get
Oh,
them.
they're coming. I have all the DVDs.
I know, I
have the
gave you- I
tapes.
gave
and
you all the
they're
tapes,
all.
a
yeah.
lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah, they're all getting them.
Why wouldn't you?
And so-
Right?
why am I not shocked?
I gave him a whole box of. I had RJ's tapes. I had everything. But yeah, so I had tried to do that initially, but I don't have the equipment. I don't have the time, and I did. And what you came up with, doing specific matches is so much more digestible. There are still a couple of old episodes up there on Rage TV and the From the Vault section, but I think that this is. Somebody that is interested or is new to MCW and is interested in the past might not want to go back and watch, a 3-hour show from the North Point Flea Market, that may have had some questionable matches in there in the first place, but
Right.
they might really want to go back
Ticket
and
seller
see.
matches.
Right, exactly, something specific. So,
Yeah, and some of that there was an error. There's an error. I would say
error or error?
Error.
There is an error,
There was an error.
full of errors, actually.
Yeah, for especially like 2008 2008 through. Well, listen, man, it was like
was rough.
2008 through 2012 or 13. That was when the freaking, like, it really, like, the economy crashed. You remember that? Like,
Yeah,
the
it was.
housing
Was that was right after Ruthless Aggression?
Yeah, and it was like
Yes.
Green Room when we only really did Green Room. Like, it really, the economy then at that time with the housing market crashing, it impacted a lot. I just, like, it was tough to sell 150, 200 tickets at the Green Room.
Yeah.
And
know.
we didn't have a training center.
Yeah, we
You
didn't.
know?
You're true. There was a
So,
lot of things that probably
I
played into it that we didn't have. That your normal, I guess, like ecosystem of what makes wrestling shows kind of go and sell tickets.
Yeah.
I do definitely think the economy played a part in it because, and that's when I remember we were doing like once a month, and then we'd have conversations with fans. Like fans would, because Dennis would always he'd say, look, you know, hey, maybe we should start back into like every other month because fans are like, hey, things are tight. You know, we can't afford every month. So we kind of, like at the Green Room days, we went to like every other, like probably like 4 years. We only did like 6 shows a year.
Yeah.
And they were just Green Room shows. Most of them didn't have, say, national stars.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, we held it down and we survived and kind of pushed through. It wasn't until we came to Joppa, and that was like 2013, and we're like, hey, this is a bigger building. Maybe we should go back to the format of bringing in, you know, like now, and we like Scott Hall, and then it was that transition to Joppa, what became the MCW Arena, that kind of made us go back that business route.
Well, I remember the last couple of shows we had at the Green Room. We were like, I mean, what, 600 people or something there? I mean, we were getting good crowds in there. But we were bringing in some, like, we had
a lot of comps.
like when we went to the Adult Day Center and we invited all those people, and 200 people with cerebral palsy
that
showed
could get
up.
us canceled if I.
No, it was really awesome. It was like this real like connection to a community that wouldn't have normally had access to come to our show, and they came and
but here's the thing.
Yeah.
I can touch on this a little bit because when we get back to. Give the nuts and bolts of it. Do you remember that? And there was a lot of people in wheelchairs.
I think this is I must have been living in New York at this time, or
I think you were still there. Yeah.
I can give the PG version of this. Essentially, there were that was at a time where we were heavily comping the shows because things were just, it was tougher to sell tickets, but we didn't have a lot of expenses because we didn't have national names and was like our guys. So our budget was so we would comp, and I gave, and normally there's a like a rule of thumb, like as a promoter, like if you give away 100 tickets, like 20%'s the rule of thumb. Like you give away 100 tickets, you might get 20 or 25 that show up.
Yeah.
So it was a show, and it was there was a lot of handicap.
Well, we had gone to, I think Jimmy Cicero arranged this, if I'm not mistaken. We had gone to an adult day center that it was, I have to tell you, out of all the things I've done in this career, this was one of the most rewarding days I've ever had. It
was nice.
It was really nice because we got to interact with people who, they were serious wrestling fans. I mean, they had like photo albums filled with.
Most of them were wheelchair bound.
Yeah, and varying degrees of physical limitations and so forth. But it was really rewarding. Like I felt good. Just getting to meet people I wouldn't have normally gotten to meet, right? So
I'm like, well, I got this stack of 200 comps. I'll just give them all.
Come to our next show.
They're not going to use them all, and they may not even use them at all. And like 13 buses showed up with, 13 buses full of people in wheelchairs, right? Which isn't a problem. There's nothing wrong with that. Unless you're running in a bar that has a liquor license and there's laws
and
about
bleacher seats
and bleachers, and how many people, how many the bathrooms are handicap accessible. So there's laws like in their liquor license could be lost.
There were steps they had to go up and
not
down.
Being prepared for that.
A little to get into the bar side.
And I didn't know that until that day when they lost their mind because 13 buses of people in wheelchairs pull up.
That said, they were the best damn crowd.
They were the best crowd.
They really, really were.
I must not have been around for this because I would have remembered it.
Me and Dennis, for 20 years or whatever in business together, knowing each other, we've always been real good about not, if we've got upset, not blowing up at a show. And like, you know, have it out on the phone or whatever afterwards. He lost his mind on it.
I'm sure.
And I just was like, I just never thought. Dennis.
Did the lady at the green room lose her mind too? Like I feel like I remember
So-
her running around panicked.
So she was losing her mind, but she really lost her mind when because they were worried about their liquor license, understandably. And at this point, there's 150 wheelchairs in there. And as people listening, I know we got a lot of longtime fans like Greg and Andy, Charles. They were probably at this show,
Right.
so they'll probably remember it. It was definitely one that you wouldn't forget. It's probably 150, 150 to 200 wheel. I think they used every comp ticket. And I'm like, I just didn't register. They were really freaked out about their liquor license. Like, they're like, we will get shut down. We will have to go in front of the liquor board. We are not prepared for this. Like, we can't service them. We can't take care of them the way they need to be taken
Right.
care of because
What if someone gets hurt?
if someone get hurt.
Yeah. What
and
if
I'm
a
like,
drunk
oh.
person runs into them? Or I mean, who knows? They're
And she was, and Dennis is like, yeah, what's wrong? He's like, he's totally turned heel on me.
Yeah.
The NWO is the two owners of the green room and Dennis, and I'm Hogan. They're putting the boots to me,
Right.
and they're throwing the trash in the ring, and I'm just there taking it, and I can't really say anything because it's registering. Like, this was a big misstep on my part that I didn't take these things into consideration. So I'm trying to like take it on the chin, but still be like, hey man, and I'm like, hey, you know what I mean? This is a true story. Dennis loves this story.
I did. I was there.
So Dennis, they're yelling at me at the front of the green room as the last bus is coming in, and it's just wheelchairs everywhere. They can't fit everything.
They're smiling and ready to see wrestling.
There are stretcher beds.
Oh, that's where it's coming. Listen, this is not a joke.
Sorry.
This is comedic timing of something that would be in the best comedy movie that people look back and go, that was an amazing scene. Because as they're yelling at me and I'm kind of feeling pressure and I know I screwed up, but I'm just at a point where I'm tired of being yelled at by these three raging maniacs, the two owners and Dennis. And I know I'm wrong, but I can't say anything. And they're like, and the owners are like, how are they even enjoying the show? And I'm like, wait a minute, you can't say that. Like, how do you know that they're not going to enjoy this show? And as I'm saying that, in between me and them who's standing across from me, they push in a freaking hospital bed with the person laying down. Tara, am I lying?
Nope, I was there.
And they just, their
there when
eyes
this
bug out of their
happened.
head. Like, this was like, you couldn't make this up. This person was on a hospital bed that they pushed in and they pushed past me, and they're just doing like this, pointing like they can't even say anything. Like, how is this person going to enjoy the show? And I just walked away because I was like, I've completely lost this argument. There's nothing I can say. I know I've screwed up. Like, I didn't take this into consideration that this show was in a bar. And yeah, and it was
Well, and
pretty
the
bad.
thing is, like,
a big miscalculation on my part.
I'll say.
I was there when, like, you were saying about giving them the tickets, like, and the thing is, when you were there, they were so excited and interacting with us at that day that we went to the day center. Like, I understand why you gave them tickets
Right.
because you wanted to do something. Because seriously, this and the library tour that we did like 2 summers later were two of the most rewarding things because you really just got to see how much of an impact something like this makes on other people. And we don't, like, when we perform in front of a crowd, we hear we hear the fans, cheer or boo. But this was like just seeing firsthand up close and, just talking to some of them. I mean, and it was just great,
Yeah,
like
and
it really was.
There was a couple things that didn't really register the day when I wanted them to do something nice for them.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
didn't
that's
register
what it
me
was.
that they would completely obliterate the promoter's rule of thumb that not 20% of the comps you give them will show up, but 100%.
100%. Yeah.
No
Like,
good
so
deed
they-
goes unpunished.
they literally blew that equation out of that rule of thumb out of the water.
It couldn't have been a less user-friendly facility. Like, I mean, we run in some different places. Like, even the flea market would have been a better option right next door. But the green room was really the worst place for this to have taken place.
And the second thing is, I never registered that, hey, if all of these, special needs or handicapped people show up in wheelchairs and things like that, that it's going to put their liquor license in jeopardy if someone from the liquor board. I wouldn't even have thought about that. I would now doing these events. But
well, you live and you learn.
You live and you learn.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was like a different kind of Flashback Friday. We took a little trip down memory lane there. It was a great show, though. Like, they really, everybody enjoyed it. Everybody had a great time. So, anyway, a little bit late, Flashback Friday. What are some of the things that you look for when you're choosing a Flashback Friday match?
Besides Leo Rush.
Yeah.
besides that.
Typically, it's whatever, like, whoever's, like, in the news of wrestling, like, whoever has some buzz of their name.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's just my mindset for the whole thing. Like, at least once a month I have to put a women's match because they're always popular.
Yeah.
But, like, even this week's, it's Matt Hardy and Luke Hawx from Shamrock 2014.
Oh, that was a banger.
Oh,
yeah,
that was a banger.
TLC match.
Yeah.
So that, like, I was like, you know what? I've seen a couple people, somebody on Facebook, they said that was one of the greatest moments in MCW history. I'm like, you know what? Let's put that one up there.
Yeah.
Oh, so directly from, like, maybe faithful feedback from the MCW fans. You're like, okay, you're right. That was a banger. Let's throw that up.
Yeah, like, all the people that from Last Call who put, like, their greatest moments, I just went through and I was like, okay, that match can go, that can go up there. Just, anything that may get some buzz.
Yeah.
So with that said, to all of our 106 followers on Twitter, John is watching not only the Facebook user comments, but you're looking at the MCW Cast Twitter. So let's get those followers up, continue supporting us, and speak to our director, John Rollins, and let him know what you want to see maybe as a Flashback Friday.
And any additional content, because that's the thing I give credit. This is kind of me, John, and Diaz. Not me, because I don't do any of the editing, and it's just not my thing. But with the three of us are always on a chat about increasing the content. And I feel like in the last year, just the content for the YouTube page, I feel like we got one of the best YouTube pages out there for independent
100%.
wrestling, because it's so many different types of content. It's like match highlights, the podcast, Flashback Friday matches, the backstage passes, which we've, in the last
Quick
couple
clips.
months implemented, the quick clips. So I feel like we try to have a variety of content. And I scan around to a lot of the different independent wrestling YouTube pages, and they don't have as much of a variety. So make sure
we
you
have a lot
comment,
of
'cause
history
yeah,
too. We
make
have
sure you
that in our
comment.
23 years.
Yeah.
Steve and John we're always watching to kind of see and take ideas to try to get people watching.
It's those algorithms that you keep. If it wasn't for you, Dan, I would not be smartened up to all of the different things that YouTube looks at, and that has helped me immensely in all of our other avenues. So I do.
Well, it's
appreciate that.
TubeBuddy. I can't, like TubeBuddy. If anybody's doing a YouTube channel, TubeBuddy is what it's called, I think.
TubeBuddy. Yes.
Yeah. It's a great extension and very educational. I can't remember. Dennis could tell you because I just put it on the credit card. I just put it. I just like, oh man, this is good. I saw like it had good reviews and saw other YouTubers that like put it over. But it's a great extension to get because it has a lot of educational videos and it's helped me understand. Oh, okay, these are the things you got to do. Because one of the things that's important we found is getting you hit all the right algorithms so that you become a suggested. And anybody knows that do YouTube. So if someone's watching, Leo Rush from Defy Wrestling or whatever, like in Seattle, whatever he goes for, if they're in Seattle and they're watching that match, that maybe one of our matches will pop up of Leo Rush in their suggested videos. That's how you really grow your channel. That's one of the most important things in TubeBuddy it's just really a great product. It's not much. I don't know, maybe $10 a month or something. I can't even remember, but it's definitely worth it because it's helped me, kind of pass stuff on to these guys about, hey, I watched this video and this is, and it definitely works. We can see it in certain videos, and we can see when that's the cool thing when we see like a video just really hit an algorithm that takes off, and we're looking like, good Lord, like that freaking video exploded.
Those are some of our favorite conversations
yeah.
when you just hit the group chat with, boys, that Scarlet Bordeaux just hit 2K.
Yeah,
Exactly. Well, it definitely helps when you have those little tips, and then he can change like how he does the graphics or how I edit videos.
Yeah, because that's it. It's kind of like the three of us on YouTube, because Diaz, if the thumbnails and graphics, that's Steve, that's his. You edit the video. I go in and look for the you know what I mean, the comments and the tags, and we kind of we're all, you know, jumping back in, and you know, one of them uploads. I say, give me a thumbnail. I'm doing the tags, and it's, you know, the three of us, the YouTube channel is kind of like our thing.
Well, don't forget Mr. Larry Legend, because he also provides some invaluable advice when he's looking through the content. You know, we had a conversation the other day about the end cards, and it went to a whole thing, and that's one of my favorite things about learning. None of us knew how to do any of this when we started. I didn't know anything about a soundboard or streaming or any of the procedures that we do when it comes to getting this. And now we just show up, and it's second nature. When we first started, it was like we were all stressed out. We didn't know what we were doing, how to do it the right way, and eventually we just started learning as we went. And now, which I think we can all be very proud of, is the fact that people want to be on the show. And when they're asked to be on the show, they feel like a sense of pride that they've made it. And that is even far beyond being, if I could make it about myself for a second. A lot of people like to say, oh man, I can't wait till I'm put on a poster. But now I get to be I put every poster out there. I don't need to have my face on there. It's my work that's being represented there. And if it wasn't for you and you and you and you providing that support structure, you know, for all of this, I don't know what I would be doing. So big ups to all of you guys. I appreciate it.
Well, and this team right here too, one thing to say about it, not just like we, for a couple months after the shutdown and the pandemic, we were just kind of floating and nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And it was kind of everybody here that was like, hey, we got to do something. And to be honest with you, it was more you guys lighting a fire under me, because I was just kind of, I felt punch drunk and confused because I was thinking of the financial stuff, because I've talked to you guys about it. We, as a company, we ended up getting one of those small government loans that they put out, you know, to make sure you get through, because from a business, like me and Dennis have been doing wrestling shows, and we were kind of, it was so confusing that like, how can all of a sudden you be told you can't operate your business, and you can and you think you're in a safe spot because you have multiple streams of revenue, you have a couple different things going on, but all those streams are cut off, and you literally can't operate. So I was and like time was going by the first couple months where I was kind of just like, God, we got to be opening back up soon. We got to be opening back up. So it was like I was only thinking about that, and it was kind of like you guys and John and Steve stepped in and started. Like,
can I hijack this for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
John, you and me and Tara, we all just said, you know what? We're going to make content, because
we went rogue.
We had a conversation.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to give you guys the pat on the back to say it was you that like got me fired up again, because I was punch drunk. I didn't know how to move forward.
Well,
I really didn't.
And there was other stuff going on too, because RJ was really sick.
Yeah,
you know, he's you know, and so there was a lot going on. And like for me, I just needed somebody to like just say, hey, do you think we could film something at training one night? You know, and that was
we didn't ask.
Well,
we just
for the MCW Unveil, that was the first thing that we had done, and then you two came with the idea of doing Breakthrough, and I was like, I'm on board. We need to get stuff out there. So then we went to Dean,
and we're like, hey, do you think it'd be cool if we like film some stuff around 9 o'clock on a training night? We won't disrupt anything. And he's like, okay. And then I'm like, we'll just post it and let Dan look at it. I mean, some of the stuff was kind of, you know, interesting, but we just had to do something. And for me, I needed it as something to take my mind off of things. You know, like I needed something to look forward to each week, or I needed something like that. So, you know, even though we knew that the stuff we were doing wasn't going to like go up on Rage TV or anything like that, but we just wanted to do something. Like we did the stuff we were doing, you know, when we went rogue, we were putting it together production-wise the same way we would a show. Like, we did the lights, we did the stage, we had Trons, we did all of it. And we were like, all right, we're just doing it for us, basically.
Yeah, you guys came with the rebrand of Breakthrough, which actually probably helped us in putting together Bruiser Strong, the original.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think after we did that show, it was really, we got thrown into the deep end. Because none of us knew how to do any of that stuff. And it was a Mad Dash 2 debut. And we were all really stressed out to make sure that the editing was good, that it was uploaded correctly, that it was going to premiere. And that entire day, it was just, that was the most stressful thing that I've ever put myself through. But after that, I feel like if we ever have a situation like, let's just say what we were talking about before last call, we can handle anything.
Oh, yeah.
If we did the Bruiser Strong show and knocked it out the park, that was our most viewed content ever. I think we've got 20,000 views on it so far. If we can manage to get that and make that work, we can do anything.
Yeah, and let we take a break and come back and get back into this, because there's something else I want to throw in here too.
Yeah, and I definitely want to hear more from our producer, Steve. So stay with us, MCW Faithful. We'll be back with you on the other side of the break.
Show your support for the MCW Cast while sporting some great gear by going to teespring.com/stores/MCWcast. You can pick up a full line of official MCW Cast merchandise, from coffee mugs and face coverings to t-shirts and sweatshirts. Visit teespring.com/stores/MCWcast.
All right, so we're back, and we were kind of talking back and forth before we went to break. I guess that's what I was trying to say is to, like, you, I guess you three, meaning, John, Tara, and Steve, like, I appreciate and thank you for kind of stepping up and doing that. Everything to kind of, like, light the fire, because I really was. I've always been confident in running MCW. Like, I always knew, like, I knew wrestling, and I felt like I was in a good position as, like, the leader. And with Dennis, like, we have me and Dennis work really good together. But during that time, it was the first time where I had no idea how to pull us out. Because I was everything was so confusing in the world. We didn't know what was going on when we were going to be, the school, you getting hit, schools, birthday parties, it's all shut down, shows. We got this grant that we, a loan that we had to take from the government, and I just had no idea how to pull us out. So that's where you guys, the core kind of here, came together and just, randomly started filming stuff and throwing it up on Facebook. And I was like, I don't know, like something triggered and was like, we got to do something. But then even to get, that's what I wanted to get to, that Bruiser show. I know I was probably not the easiest guy to deal with during that, but because we were essentially being threatened by the athletic commission. And to give it to them, probably because I'm sure the pressure that they had on them from a state level, and nobody knows. But it's like, man, there was all these rules, and it was confusing because it's like, well, wait a minute, we can have the school open, we can have guys perform, but you're telling us technically we can't. Right. We can't do a show, you know what I mean? Or we can do a show even without any fans there. And and by that point, we're a year into people being programmed, seeing wrestling without fans in it. So
I kept coming to you with all these different scenarios. Well, what if we do it this way? What if we do it this way? And you're like, stop, they're not going to go for that. And I'm like, what if we go to Louisiana? What if we go to Florida? Like, I was like desperate.
I do remember mentioning that.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Throwing anything to the wall.
Well, we were talking with a building in West Virginia at one point.
We were.
I remember that,
Anything.
And at one point, and then, it was, and they had checked with the West Virginia Health Department, and then it was like a matter of like things they wanted, because then they wanted all these extra insurances. So that's the thing. Once we got to a point, it was like, holy crap, man, it's going to cost this much money, to film some stuff to put on. Anyway, we figured it out. We got to it. We finally got to a point of approval. And the Bruiser Strong show thing, and then it came into the podcast, and then here we are. But really, it was you guys, because there was a point where we were stagnant for 6 months going into it, and because I didn't know how, I had no idea how to move forward or how to start moving forward, and that content was kind of how we got up and running again. Was the kind of it picked us back off our feet, and here we are. So
Well, I remember during that time, I was talking to you a lot, Dan, about what other promoters that I had worked for were doing. And Tara, with your suggestion of packing up and going to Florida and New Jersey, finding those kind of states that were willing to allow gatherings still of a large capacity was key. And then also the other thing we talked about was the idea of these closed doors, like TV tapings.
Right. No
which
crowd.
Which is what I really feel like Breakthrough kind of evolved into. And also a way to kind of highlight all of our students who had paid their tuition, had come to train, and there needs to be some payoff. It can't just be
because the school was reopened
shockingly,
after about
we had a great year with it.
Oh,
We
gosh,
reopened June 24th of 2020. We reopened June 24th or 23rd. Yeah. So
when was it shut down? Mid-March.
Mid-March. Yes, we were closed
so 3
for
months. So really
3 months.
only the school was open back up after 3 months. Birthday parties a year. We were before.
They were. Yeah, I think I did
year.
a couple over the summer just to kind of test the waters, but
People
it
just
was,
weren't really interested.
Yeah,
They
we had the
weren't really-
tent. We had the tent outside
we had
and everything.
we tried a tent outside. We tried lots of different things because it was just we were trying to get a feel for it, and figure out how we could do it. But there really wasn't a ton of demand there either, so we kind of just we were able to put things together and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a process for sure. But shockingly, tons of people were registering as students to learn how to be a wrestler. Which I thought was kind of fascinating, but also really cool. I was surprised.
To all those students that have come through and to all the students that will be coming, it's more than just training at the school. It could be any facet of this business. It could be the production, like video. It could be audio. We have Danny Mays doing our voiceovers. So it's more than just...
Yeah, there's
more
so
than
many
just
opportunities.
wrestling.
Terry, you've said it before that like most people, like when they come through the doors, they won't make it in the ring. But if you want to be a part of the business, we'll find a place for you.
Yep. I tell when we were shut down and the only thing open was the school, I would talk to every single training class. Dean and I were handling that, and I would tell every single group of students, if you want to be here and have something to contribute, we will find something for you. Like you're not all going to be wrestlers.
It's not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. I try to tell people the same thing too.
Yeah.
Look, it's okay.
That's what you told me
It's not
years
for
ago.
everybody.
Not everybody's going to be a wrestler. I wanted to be a wrestler.
John
in my
started
head,
training.
I was going to be a wrestler, but you know what? I broke my neck 3 years in, and that changed things. I did wrestle again.
Yeah, you did wrestle quite a bit. I mean,
I did. Okay. But I loved being a manager. I loved being a commissioner. I loved doing all of it. I loved doing this. I like handling the backstage stuff, I think that there's something of value in doing something that you love no matter what it is. Like when I got hurt, I could have been bitter and been like, oh, I got hurt and I'm not coming back, because lots of people do that. Lots of people do that. But I couldn't. It was like I was crying.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean I can't wrestle right now? What do you mean it's going to take 18 months to heal? I was beside myself.
And there's people that get that, like, so you were doing it, you had an injury, but there's people that get it and get, like, dreams and things like that can change and they can evolve. And I've seen, we've talked about this, and there's people that'll get mad at themselves just because they start training for a couple weeks and realize, hey, look, it's not ballet.
Yeah.
And we can talk about how the business is, and it's a work, and it's so much more out of the closet. Look at how we're out of the closet now. We got the curtains pulled back.
Hey, Larry.
But,
Definitely out of the
but it's so much. It's so freaking hard to do this from a performance standpoint in the ring. So much so that when I came back for a couple years ago, in my 40s, it was like, I don't know how I did this in my 20s. This is freaking hard, and it hurts, and it hurts. And
Well, it didn't help cue the dog broke your rib.
It didn't help that the dog broke my ribs, but just in general, being in the ring, I was like, I want no parts of this. I don't know whether I not as tough as I used to be. That probably has a lot to do with it. Father Time kind of creeps up on us all, but I was just like, you people like, you hear people talk about like not wanting to get out of the ring. I'm like, yeah, I couldn't wait to get out.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't taken a bump since June 2019, and I'm thinking that's probably the last time I took a bump.
Yeah.
So,
But there's so many, and now here I am at almost 50 years old. We're talking about that last call. Like, man, I got the biggest rush after that show was over and everything we pulled that off. Like, as big a rush as I ever would have had performing in the ring and being part of it. Like, you learn and you know what I mean, that your passion evolves, and there's no reason to not. I don't, anybody that ever comes to me at the school, even if wrestling isn't for them, I don't ever want them to walk away. And John's literally the perfect example of, I've never had anyone working in MCW doing like videos and making the packages and stuff in 23 years that's as good as you. Like,
Thank you. I
have
appreciate that.
a complete gift that you're probably going to work for one of the major companies one day, and you're probably going to make a living doing this. And like, that gift wouldn't have been discovered if you would have just walked away and been like, yeah, this just wrestling wasn't for me. And Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew Carr. Yeah.
You know, who was here. And
That was actually somebody that you mentioned. I had to look them up.
he worked for WWE.
Yeah.
now. As a cameraman, he was a wrestler.
Yeah.
You know, and realized wrestling just wasn't his thing.
Yep.
And
He still did birthday parties for a while, though.
Yeah.
He would come and do birthday parties just because he loved it and didn't want to lose that. And that was before he had gotten hired by WWE. So, you know, I was so happy to see him at Last Call.
yeah, it was nice to see him.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
great to see him. It was great to see him back.
Prime
Yeah.
example.
The real quick, like, I remember I always busted his chops. Like, the one mistake he made was, well, he didn't make a mistake because I didn't throw him under the bus, but so he was really good at production, filming and doing our filming, but you know, you have a talent like the video packages and all you put together. Like, we should talk about some of the stuff you did for Last Call. But we had trouble at that time, like, getting the filming and keeping the filming. But so then he gave WWE, put me on the reference to call, and they called and had like an hour-long interview
wow.
with him. They interviewed with me about him, and I'm thinking, I should really say this guy's an asshole.
All right, so you can keep him, right? Yeah.
You know, I joke with him. I was like, but obviously I didn't, and he got the job.
Right.
But I was like, man, we're gonna lose Andrew as our filmer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As our cameraman. No, this guy sucks. He's a sexist.
All right.
Yeah. No, he's great, and obviously he got the job. But yeah, so it's just, there is so many opportunities, and because I know how much I'm almost 50 years old. And I love this crap as much as I did when I was 8 or 9 watching Hulk Hogan against the Iron Sheik. So I just don't think you should walk away just because maybe in the ring isn't for you, because there's so many other opportunities.
Steve, you're juggling both things. You're the only one at the table who's actively still wrestling.
Right.
And, you know, so you have to juggle preparing for your matches, training, doing that, plus all of the other things that you're doing.
Yeah, so I don't ever want to hear anybody else saying that they put in the work that I do.
Yeah, dude, show dates are hell for you.
I
can
know,
see
they're
it.
bad.
But I managed to get it done, and I do
Like
it
in the Tron
regularly.
screens and the graphics
Yeah.
and the thumbnails and the match graphics that you see before the show and the
All
show
the posters, everything.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah,
if it's got
that's
an image on it, it probably came from him.
Well, you know what? This is all your fault, Tara.
I know.
You were the one, and by the way, I'm also going to pat you on the back, Dan. If it wasn't for you first saying that I was now working for you, it acted like, it was almost like I got signed by WWE. Everybody was posting, saying congratulations. You know, it almost sounded like to them that I got signed by WWE, and everybody was just over the moon about it. And I came through, and the last gentleman that did our graphics, he did a great job, but I do a little bit greater.
I'll say, yeah.
Your love of symmetry drew me to
Our
you.
love of symmetry, and you took it to Dan, and you said, Dan,
We got to use him.
why don't we just give him a chance? And one thing I can always say about this place is that if you stick around and you put in the work, you will get a phone call or you'll get a text message saying, hey, I've got this guy, you know, you're very well connected, you know a lot of people, and we would like to present you with this opportunity. And whenever that phone call or that text message comes through, it's just, let's go, let's do it. It's not even a discussion. Let's make it happen.
Well, you know, no matter what anybody does, I think the only thing I've ever cared is that you care.
Right.
For the right reasons. Not,
58-15. 58-15.
Okay.
We're pulling it back. Pulling it back, baby.
what, time-wise?
No, I'm talking
No,
about
what
No.
you just
For
said
the
the S
curse.
word.
The what?
You just
We
said
gotta-
the
we
S
gotta
word
bleep
slip,
that.
you know,
Okay,
yeah. So
sorry
he's,
about
I'm
that.
writing
Time
the, I'm writing the
stamping it, yep.
timestamps.
I don't have my pencil with me.
I'm sorry.
I'm doing levels and this and that.
So, yeah, that was really, what was I talking about? I just got...
that people care. You want to
Oh,
make
yeah,
sure that
yeah.
the people,
So-
yeah.
that people care, that you actually care. Not like there's always been a thing and I like from a wrestling standpoint, and I mean I probably shouldn't say this because then I'm like kind of tipping my hat, but like local wrestlers that don't work for me, the worst thing, and I'm not going to bury anybody, but I could name a dozen people that haven't worked for me, or maybe did like one match because they said like the worst thing you could say to me, that like I'll ask them like, what are your goals, like where do you want to be in the business, and they'll say like, oh, I'll be happy if I just wrestle for you.
Oh yeah, you would.
You will? Then I don't want you. Because I want people that want to wrestle at WrestleMania.
Ambition.
You know, or for AEW.
The people that have a passion for it.
That's right.
For
Yeah.
That, like, I don't want this to be your stop. Whether it's Andrew in production or you guys, one of you guys, eventually ending up with something, you know, moving up the chain. I just want you to care and love wrestling as much as I
and not just tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah,
to
not
get
just
booked.
say
You
that.
know,
Like, if
oh,
you're
I just wanna
from a
work.
wrestling standpoint, if you're just an indie wrestler that's you're happy with just sharing with your friends a picture on Facebook that you wrestle for MCW. I don't, you know what? I want you to want to wrestle at Madison Square Garden or, you know, WrestleMania or AEW or, you know what I mean, Impact. That's, you know what I mean. I just want this to be. I want this to be you in your mind. This you love it here and you want to be here, but this is just a rung on the ladder. That you wanna,
a step in the road or the rung. Yeah.
And I know between me and John, none of us are going to main event WrestleMania, but I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to have a highlight video or a
I was going to say,
promotional
you
hype
never
video.
know, because Dean made a comment about just the past WrestleMania with Undertaker and AJ Styles, that it was theatric.
Yes.
So he was like, this could be your moment to be on WrestleMania. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. Let's see if we have another pandemic, and let's see what happens.
Well, Steve, this has also led you to a career change as well. Do you want to tell us about the things that you're working on too?
Well, thanks to all of the people here and Dan specifically, I'm now doing thumbnails for the Save with Conrad podcast network, and it's actually been going on for a full year now. And because of that, I've been able to kind of parlay that into other opportunities. So I'm also doing some work for Chris Jericho, also doing some stuff for Brad Shaw.
Are you doing stuff with Jericho?
Yes.
Yeah.
With his podcast and all that? With it?
If you,
Winnipeggers.
Winnipeggers podcast. The gentleman that I talk to, my go-between, he's always hitting me up. Hey, would you like to do something for this? Or hey, would you like to do something with that? And it's always a interesting thing because you know this, Tara. Literally, we have no time to do anything.
I know.
And I keep finding more stuff to do.
I know.
And then eventually what happens is we get a couple of emails in Basecamp going, hey, we need this stuff done. And then it's, hey, please don't forget to do this thing. And then I get a text message going, did you get my Basecamp?
well,
Yeah.
Trust me, it's not that I'm trying to duck you or anything like that. It's just
no,
A lot of our free time is spent talking about wrestling.
No, and I just like not trying to harass you, but I know how it can get lost.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
gosh,
Don't
yeah.
get me wrong.
Like, I've even gotten to where like I try to, and look, you talk about like the wrestling and it, man, there's the last couple weeks there. Like I can very easily get my sleep schedule because I got real estate and then my daughter in school. But man, I can get sucked down a rabbit hole working on like MCW YouTube stuff or laying out matches and stuff.
And you've spoiled us actually with your layouts. I wish that I could template that and then give it to the other people that I work for, because sometimes it is
What do you mean for like matches and stuff like?
for everything.
The
guy.
formats.
Yeah.
The
Well,
formats
so
of everything.
I need these people on here. I need these people.
This person
on
front and center.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
We need
were
to
having a
swap this
conversation
person out with this
earlier
person.
today
Well, I
about-
kind of have an idea. Like one of the things, like too, it's funny we're having this conversation. It's been a conversation in wrestling. I try to think of like our posters and stuff. I try to think of diversity.
Absolutely.
You know, I try to think of like
Symmetry.
African American.
Symmetry,
You know what
yes,
I mean?
diversity and
I try
symmetry,
to think
please.
of showing diversity, and I think, you know, and then, you know, again, pulling the curtain down for 7 or 8 years, I didn't have anything at all to do with the booking or the creative on the shows, because I had just, after like 12 years of doing it, I was burnt out. So like when RJ, but it's also something that there's like a formula that you know works, like you know things work, and it's hard to find people that like, you know what I mean? Like, we've talked, like, you know, Cradle had did the booking, and it just, you know, Sean Cradle, people that know that was a part of us. I just, like, he did it for a couple years, but he didn't really do it because I was stepping in. It's not saying anything about Sean, but, like, I just think for someone that wasn't actively wrestling and didn't really have a lot of in-ring experience, he didn't really fully grasp it. So I was always, like, jumping in on creative, and then, like, Joe Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
So I was
Joe
like,
Hamilton days.
about
I
him.
remember those. Yeah.
the longest run really was RJ and Dean.
Yeah.
This like last 5 or and I kind of got spoiled because even like there's so much stuff and even the last year or two, like, are there so many things I would ask them, why are they doing this on a show, or why are they doing that, and they would and I would know because I was like, that's how I would think, that's how I would have booked it. Well, they were my, you know, they were kind of sat under my learning tree for so long. So, but I didn't have to think about it. So now this last like couple months and like I'm getting, you know, input, but it's weird, man. Like I was like, I forgot about this part of my brain where sometimes I'll wake up and then for 3 hours from 2 in the morning to 5 in the morning, I'm on the computer and I'm laying out the next couple shows and how we can go with this or that. And I'm like, I forgot about that part of my brain that was shut off for years.
It feels good to flex your creative muscle.
Yeah.
I was going to say, not
we
going to
sit
lie.
around coming up with breakthrough stuff at night.
That's
we
pretty
eat
much
dinner
when
and then we
all my
putting
videos,
breakthrough.
I always get them, like, my best thoughts at nighttime when I should be in bed.
Yeah.
Like,
Have
I'll,
you
like,
done
I'll,
that? Like, I can't tell you the last
God.
couple months, like, I'm in bed and it's like, there, I got it, and I'm just about to sleep, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh. What? I thought of something, and then I'm next thing I know, I'm downstairs. Then I got to go to sleep for an hour and get up and take my daughter to school. Like, what did I do? And I had a real estate appointment, and I just sat up for 4 hours thinking about, and then I'm sending stuff to you guys, like, oh, this, or we're changing this match graphic.
Like,
I'll
I'll start making videos at like 10 at night, and then come to bed at 5, and my wife's like, are you just coming to bed? What were you doing? You know exactly what I was doing. I was making videos.
Right.
I was getting the show ready. You know.
There's the passion. You know?
We'll wake up in the morning and be like, what did we just talk about? Why didn't we write all that down?
We
just booked the whole entire show in our heads and we didn't write it down.
And it is the worst when that happens.
It
and
is.
you think of stuff and you don't. That's why I'll jump up and run downstairs and like get on base camp.
There's been a couple of times where I've gotten like a 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning text message from Dan going, look at this video. It's got 15,000 views.
Yeah, I was like, why are they messaging at 2 in the morning?
Yeah, it's like, well, this is colorful, and this is it, and this thing freaking took off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It
is a rabbit hole, man. It is a rabbit.
It's
And that's
a
that
lot of
YouTube-y.
It
You
is.
go in for that pay. You get your own dashboard, and you go in, and it breaks down all these analytics. And one of the things that's blown me away is, like, we have more viewers in India than in the United States on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We're over in India. I'm like, you know what I mean?
I wonder why.
When are we going
No,
to
I'm kidding.
India? Probably no time soon because they're really getting beat up by
say
Oh,
road
gosh,
show.
yeah.
Ooh. And I know for a fact, John, you probably feel the same way too. There's a sense of pride when you
Yeah.
have
Oh,
a
yeah.
MCW
Yeah.
banner attached to the work that you do, and just to have not only like the content that we put out constantly being shared. And we're always telling the new students that come through as well, hey, it's not just being able to hit cool moves or tell a story in the ring. It's about being a promoter. It's promoting yourself, promoting the brand that you're on, and then that goes even beyond just professional wrestling. That enters the realm of everything that we're doing online. And now more than ever, content is king. And to be able to come through and say, hey, I got an idea for this. And then we have some students that come through and say, hey, I have a background in this. I've done this before. You know, it's just all of us are working together to produce a product that ourselves would like to watch. Because I know there's a lot of times where we'll have conversations about a really bad poster that you've seen online. Or something terrible that we've seen on TV, or something that maybe wasn't that
There's
creative.
a lot of bad wrestling posters out there.
Oh,
Yes,
God,
we
yeah.
love
Yeah.
to look at the bad wrestling
I would
posters.
turn that
you
into a
gotta
whole
do is-
segment.
I don't know if
turn
he
that to a
still
whole
does
segment.
it. Is friend request Chris Cruz? Do you know Chris
No.
Cruz? He used to be a WCW ring announcer.
Yeah, he's the guy who took
I do know
AEW
who.
down.
Oh,
It's the reason
I
that
know who that
AEW
is.
will never be back in Baltimore.
Oh, thanks,
But
Chris.
whatever, I mean-
Appreciate you.
Oh,
Well,
I didn't mean to Debbie
I got
down the
news
whole-
for you. I
Yeah.
got news for you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's changing.
Oh,
Soon.
good.
Oh, thank God. Good. Thank goodness. Yeah.
Announced anything. So,
Okay.
but he did, like, I haven't seen it. I'm not on Facebook as much, like.
You're better
But
off.
he always would do, like,
Yeah.
he would do it. It was doing at one point, like, of the day. where it was like awful wrestling poster of the day.
Yeah, I do remember those.
And
yeah,
he was doing them a lot during the pandemic, and it became to be something like I actually look forward to, because I'd be like,
it's a
look
good
at
laugh.
a poster and like, there's no, like, there was actually, I went down a rabbit hole because there were times I was like, I'd have to look at the website and go, this is so bad that I think it's fake. I think someone said, how can I make a fake? Like, so it's probably a fake, so I'm going to go look up the website on it, and I'll be like, oh my God, it's
real?
Really,
yeah,
right. It's really a promotion. Like
in that group
that
chat,
poster
you dropped that one poster where it was obviously the joke, where it was like, here's the ticket sellers and here's the WWE guy who's like 20 years ago, the photo that they put up there, and everybody is in different like different like lighting situations. And
Right,
it's just
no
a-
consistency,
It's
bad
just-
filters applied. Like, oh
They were
goodness.
good.
Every
Is that
movie-
just sick pleasure for us? Because you said that you like to look at bad posters. I like to look at bad hype videos.
Oh, boy.
That's some kind of sick pleasure.
Yeah, we're kind of masochists. I mean, wrestling kind of goes hand in hand.
Well, I said to you to use it as like a way to get new business, because you just contact these terrible, people who put out these terrible posters and say, hey.
Yeah, so instead of saying, hey, man, that poster's terrible, literally just link my Instagram on there and go,
Here's what you
hey, if
could
you're looking for
have.
But I
posters-
got to imagine that some of them, if they're actually utilizing a poster that bad as a show poster, they probably don't have any interest in paying for anything.
Right.
that's the thing.
But
That's the reason they're so
But you never
bad.
know,
yeah.
though. You
Yeah, 'cause
never
they're like
know.
their brother,
I
like,
mean,
Yeah.
they might, they might not know just how bad things are, and then,
They're just looking
maybe.
just to sell tickets. And they're like,
Steve
oh, this is
subtly-
good.
Steve subtly told me this with thumbnails, because we have a PicMonkey account. But it's really, PicMonkey's a great like website for photos, cheap too, like a good plug. It's like, I don't know, $40 a year. But I like for resize and stuff real quick for like Instagram, because sometimes we get our photos and they're too big. It's nice, and I use it for real estate. But sometimes if there's been like stuff that hasn't been a thumbnail up, and I'll just go on and I'll try to make one, because they kind of have something that you can, and then like 2 days later it's a different thumbnail, and I just don't say anything to Steve.
That's you? I'm sorry. I thought it was John.
But I don't. I like, okay, he was subtly telling me that thumbnail was awful.
Yeah.
Like, just changing it. Like, but it's me, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
I'm not trying to step on your on your toes, Steve, because I have no
I
experience
saw,
with that
I saw
at
the
all.
one, all love and respect, though. I saw one, and it had, I don't know, a little emoji of like a surprise face, which admittedly, we're all learning. Admittedly, I was using that too with some of the Conrad stuff, but then TikTok is the greatest resource of information for anything. And I looked up graphic design fails, and literally the top one was, don't put emojis on the thing.
I remember some of your early ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's a
yeah.
learning process. We
Yeah.
don't know until like we know, and then that's the beauty of this place. We're constantly learning, and then on top of that, when we go to other places out of state, we pretty much like stand back. When I first came here, before I came here, everybody was like, man, them people up there, they're just so full of themselves. They think they know everything. But then when I got here and then realized, wow, actually they do know. They do know what they're talking about. And, we carry that along with us.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's it's talking about like the shutdown and not knowing, like, there's not a lot of I'm really confident about, but I know wrestling. And I'm good at wrestling and creating pro wrestling, and I care about it and love it. I'm not just in it. It's not about an ego slap on the back. Where that comes off, the people that say that are people that don't have that same passion, and they're the people that would say to me, "Hey, I'll be happy if all I ever do is wrestle on an MCW show." Well, you're not the person I want, because you don't have that desire to work for WWE, and that's what I want. It's just a level. It's a certain level I look for, that the only reason people like that outside will say, "Oh, those guys are full of themselves," is because they're probably pretty crappy. They probably don't understand wrestling, and they don't really want to. They don't really have the desire to better themselves.
Before I got here, I was surrounded by people, respectfully, that said I didn't need to train, that I was fine. you know. And when I got here, I literally had to unlearn 14, 15 years of training that I got, and like build myself up from scratch. And it was more than just the stuff that was in the ring. It was the production of the show. When we sit in on the production meetings now, I now understand why one thing can't happen right after another thing, or why you have to watch the show so you don't repeat stuff.
Or when we go to work other promotions and we're like, did they not see they just did the same finish? Or, you know, or, you know,
Maybe
just,
we are full of ourselves.
well,
If we're full of
why are
good
there-
ideas, maybe.
why are there 4
Not
championship
exactly,
matches in a row?
Because y'all have wrestled. I see it too, and I'm on production, just strictly production. I'm just like, why would they do that? Like, that made no sense.
That just goes to show that the production on our team seems to know a little. I'm not trying to say it in this way, but we seem to have a little bit more awareness of what goes into making a good show, and that comes from being under the learning tree and just knowing that based off of all of the experience that you guys have had across all of the different venues and all of the different shows and all the different promotions, that once you're around it, once you're surrounded by it, you absorb it, and if you choose to use that knowledge, you know, in other places, then of course people are gonna be like, man, these people. Okay. Yeah. I want 2 back-to-back tag team championship matches. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
There's little stuff that things that stuck with me over the years that I always kind of relay and pass on, and that's one of those things. Like this, it kind of sums up everything you're talking about, and we're talking about like people thinking all those guys. When I was doing ECW matches, going up there with Axel and doing the young stuff. These ECW was on the rise. They were the hot promotion. Like Bam Bam Bigelow, Rick Rude would always, Bubba Ray Dudley. They'd always, you know, guys drilling them. You know, even young guys on the show. And I'll never forget the one thing that I've said it so many times over the years, is Bam Bam Bigelow pulled all the young guys aside and said, "I just want you to remember this." It was like, and if you remember this, you're going to continue to grow and get better in the business and learn, and you're always going to be able to contribute to the business. He said, just don't ever forget what I'm about to tell you. The day you stop learning is the day you think you know everything.
Yeah.
And that has resonated with me. So that
Yeah.
was in the late 90s, and Bam Bam Bigelow was saying that. And he said, you don't forget that. And that's what it's about, right? Like always just learning and bettering yourself and having that passion always better. That's just something that always stuck with me, Bam Bam Bigelow saying that. And that's the problem, is a lot of these guys and a lot of these indies at any level, they think they know. It's not, they're the ones that are actually have the arrogance, because they actually think they know everything, and they don't know anything.
Right.
You know, it's projection, yeah. And that's really what it comes down to, I think.
100%.
Church, truth.
Indeed.
So I think we're probably getting to the end
To
of
the
that.
nitty gritty, yeah.
But one more thing, if I'll say, like this kind of again all wraps up everything. Taking this step like that I've been taking, I said it earlier, we're talking with like Fight TV and IWTV to get us out on bigger platforms. A lot of that's happening because of you guys, really. I mean, you know, Tara involved, Diaz and John. I never tried to do that, and like Jim Ross and all I talked to over the years, because he had introduced me to Mike Weber years ago from Fight TV. I never had the confidence. I always knew we lacked, and I told you guys, like, we always lacked it. I just never felt we found our groove. Like, I felt like it was always a curse, that like production and the stuff like that, we just never found in a consistent groove where we were able to keep, where I would have felt like, okay, I feel like I can take this product, the content, the video content of the product, not just the product, but the video content of it, and put it out in front of the world. But I feel that way now. Like, not only that, but I feel like we deserve to be there. With every top independent, I feel like, you know, we deserve our spot to be up there, and be seen by a lot more people. And that's, you know, I appreciate that, because I don't think I'd be taking this step if we kind of if all of these things didn't fall into place a year ago. Maybe that's the silver lining in all of this.
We
Right.
appreciate you. Because
I was gonna say, speaking for both me and Diaz, I think we can both thank you for just at least taking the chance on us and being able to just add to MCW and just doing what we enjoy.
Well, I think I didn't really take a chance.
I
You
think
guys
you just wanted me
picked
to
the
shut
ball
up.
No, like, you guys just picked the ball up and said, we're just going to do it. And at first I was like, I don't know
But you
about
still
this. And I
took
was
the
like,
chance.
Yeah, but I was just kind of like, these guys were right. Like, What time is
1:18:32.
like?
And on
It's like,
that-
man,
on
maybe
that
these
too,
guys are
you
right.
know,
This is pretty good stuff. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
invested in us because we recommended a couple of things. You know, all of this that we have right here, you pretty much outsourced to us and said, hey, find the stuff that we need in order to make this work.
Yeah.
And the reason why the show looks so good is because we have the iPhones, and the show looks so good is because we have this room and that we have the television set and all of the LEDs.
Right, and that during that time I was able to step
So
back.
many
Like during
LEDs.
I guess that's the other silver lining. I was able to, and things were just going so hard for so long that I never really had this chance to step back. And then you guys would show me something, and then I'd be like, I'd look at stuff that was filmed, and then no offense, like a lot of the stuff was pretty bad. But I didn't even register to see how bad it was until the shutdown.
Yeah.
And then I like, man, I know but like at that time, it was like I reassured myself, yeah, this is why I never tried to go on to Fight TV, because this is crap. But then again, everything kind of comes together. Now I'm like, you know what? No, man, this is.
We can do it.
We
Yeah.
can do
Can
this,
do
and
it.
we deserve to,
After
and
that
when we
Bruiser
belong
show,
there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
With
we could do
GCW
anything.
Yeah.
and any of the other bigger promotions that are getting it out there, getting that exposure, like we deserve to be right there with them.
100%.
And that's
With all
not-
due
that's
respect,
not-
we're
yeah.
looking to do some work with GCW, either
Yeah.
inside the ring or out.
Mhm.
Anyone that wants to utilize us. It's not, you know it. Every morning I wake up to a bunch of text messages and emails saying, I
Yep.
need this, I need that. And like, I love that.
Yeah.
I love being tasked to do something that not only did I go to school for, but something that I've done consistently for the past 20 years. And I don't know how you, John, figured out how to make everything work the way that you do, but seeing you do what you do makes me inspired to do.
Just watching wrestling. Just strictly watching wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
And with all that, like we're here, and we're all here to make ourselves better, and we're all here to just put out good product. And I love that.
And and the other thing I think all of this inspired got me refocused is I haven't watched WWE in a year and a half to 2 years, but damn, I am fired up to see Lesnar and Lashley.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Let's go.
You know?
We're taking that all the way back to last year
When we
before the
talked
Royal
about it.
Rumble.
I remember
when
you did mention
and
that.
I was like, I hope Lashley wins it so he can go on to Mania to face Brock. Here we are a year later.
I was going to say, what
Yep.
a perfect time to bring it up on the year anniversary of the cast.
100%. Yeah. I'm excited about that too, Dan. Finally,
Yeah.
we get this matchup.
I'm a little worried, but I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm thinking we might end up maybe at WrestleMania like Roman, Brock, Lashley, triple threat.
That would
Maybe.
make sense.
That would probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're
I think that's what I'm
one-on-one
seeing.
match
Absolutely,
for the
yeah.
Because I was kind of like,
championship.
man, I thought for sure when I saw it set up, like, holy crap, WrestleMania one either night 1 or night 2, Lashley and Lesnar, they're giving it to us. And but now at the Rumble, but I don't care. I just want to see it. I feel like it's the first match in years that I've actually been like, I really want to see this match.
Yeah, and because of that, I feel that it should also be at Mania. And the thing about it is I hear you, Steve, about it'll probably be Roman, Brock, and Lashley, or Dan, if you just said that. But we've never seen the marquee Brock on one side and Lashley on the other. So I wish it could just be that for Mania, because that is just like up there with Andre and Hogan, up there
Yeah.
with Slaughter and Hogan.
Yeah, people have been asking for it for years.
Yeah. But you know how WWE is. If the people want it, then they're going to swerve them and give them something different.
Yeah, and you know what else has changed in the last year, too? Just to kind of, this real quick, a year ago, I was saying, hey, and they got to give it to Lashley. Like, it's got to be his moment. But holy crap, this, like, comedy side of Lesnar that's come out. Wrestling fans freaking love it.
They've been
went
waiting
from,
for it.
You know, they went from being sick to all you do is people like, oh my God, I love like country
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
So I haven't watched. I don't have cable, so I haven't watched WWE stuff. And so we were watching the pay-per-view Saturday, and I said, "When did Brock Lesnar become a lumberjack?"
That's one of my favorite things to do.
It's
with,
happened in
friends.
like the last couple months, right? But
had
the
no
fans
idea.
love it, and like his promos, and he's talking and just being. And what's funny is like I saw a meme going around is he was like stopping and taking. He
Oh,
took
yeah.
all these fan photos.
yeah.
There was that
There's all
one
these-
video of
these,
him
there-
doing a
there's
video
all
with a
these,
fan.
like people
Selfies.
doing selfies with Brock just stopping, and people are like, Brock Lesnar likes people now.
Yeah, right.
Like Brock Lesnar actually likes the people like him, and he likes them.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because you hear inside the business, you've always heard for years, like Brock Lesnar just doesn't really like people.
Right.
It's
No, it
just
doesn't
him.
take
understandable.
photos
Yeah.
rarely, and
Yeah. So, but all of a sudden, he likes people.
He put on the flannel and the overalls, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden he's a kinder, gentler Brock.
Well, good.
I
We
didn't
got-
know. I was like, what is it?
So
I
who
didn't
is
get
that? That's Madcap Moss.
it. Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, my wife, when she saw his hair, I was like, I'm not questioning it. It's Brock Lesnar. I'm not
I
questioning
There's
Jack.
nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I know.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I didn't fall asleep in the whole pay-per-view, though, did I? I stayed
Remember
awake.
we said we were only going to watch one match.
One
and we were
match,
gonna go
I
with
know.
Hawkeye, and we were immersed. I mean, we were probably in our.
I heard
heads.
nothing but good reviews about that day
good.
one, about that pay-per-view. It seemed like.
We were,
Well,
we were
there was
having a
one
conversation
thing.
about the graphics. That
Yeah.
of course.
I was like, this is what I want to do. Like they were going over the matches, and I'm like, look, I could do this. I could do this on the computer right now. Hire me. Let's go.
I will say this much. I just noticed the other night I was watching Raw. It seems like they have new fly-ins for the guys. Like if it's a
Yeah.
matchup where they're actually
Yeah.
live motion, like AJ's like coming down and doing his flying forearm and like
Yeah.
doing his pose, and then they'll fly the graphic in of Omos like raising his arms, you know. And I would love to see.
That's the stuff I love.
Yeah.
I know that I've mentioned it to you, like, about, like, even green screen stuff where we're just like, how can we make those graphics pop?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're
something where
we're slowly working to another level.
Where like the trade, you have their backs, and then they both turn and do like a wink or something like that with the tag titles and stuff, you know. And
It all goes back to all of us just sitting around spitballing, talking about how to make the product better.
So, all right. Well, we should probably wrap this
Yep.
up.
I think we should.
We should. All right.
Next week, guys, the first episode of the second year, basically, episode 53.
Unbelievable.
Season 2.
Yeah.
Season
Season
2, right.
2 of the MCW cast.
So,
Well,
all
thank
right.
everybody for being a part of it. Thank you for sticking around with
Yeah.
us, joining us on this journey. Dan, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes,
when
thank
When
you.
you approached us to do this,
Mm-hmm.
none of us knew how to do it, but here we are. Here we are.
Yeah, well,
1 year
thanks for
later.
just picking the ball up when I was trying to figure out, when we were even going to be able to open back up again. you
That's
know?
right.
Yeah.
When I had hit my, I guess, like a writer's block, I hit my wrestling block. I was at a point where, and Dennis had too, neither one of us really knew what to do to just to start moving forward again. It was like we were at a dead stop. The car was stalled out. And we didn't even know how to jump start the car to even get it moving again. So thanks for just kind of, bringing over some jumper cables. and
We're always going to be here to give you a jump, Dan. If you're ever stranded, we're here to keep those creative juices flowing.
Well, Larry, I'll pass on you jumping me, but that's all right. That's a personal decision.
Well,
What kind of jumping are you talking about?
and that's our cue that it's
That's
probably
our cue to
time
take it
to.
home.
Indeed it is.
We'll have to change the rating on it if we keep talking anymore. But thank you, everyone, for being along on this 1 year journey with us. And thank you for checking it out tonight. And we hope you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes episode where we pulled back the curtain a little bit and you got to know a little bit more about the whole team that makes this podcast, the MCW Cast.
You make me